He lives straight from the heart. Hello everyone and welcome back to my new and improved podcast. Today is an incredible episode. I am back with a vengeance. This episode is longer than usual today, and because I channeled a feminine aspect, the Wasp, I will be speaking parts of it as it wishes to be spoken. But this was extremely fun to create, ending with a cracking ending with some really great medicine, so hang on to the end to get to the medicine. So much respect for this animal. I've been on hiatus, reclaiming many things that were stolen from me during my inward journey and coming out journey now. One of the things that took a hit was my podcast. Something was out of alignment with my YouTube channel, so I've had to rebrand it and rebrand my podcast to be more in alignment with my real life journey. I have been following my own spiritual guidance to allow the evolution of my podcast to settle into what it wanted to be named, what it would like to be about. And today I've decided to rebrand my podcast He Lives. He lives is a reverse spell on the word the devil, which is he lived. A spell they use to demonize the pure nature of the masculine. He lives is about the pure masculine's reclaiming of his divine sovereignty, the reclamation of his true throne, his consciousness, the pure consciousness of love, and his right to be here, to belong. Many thought I was dead on my journey, but I was on my pilgrimage to grow stronger and wiser, and now I'm ready to share my lion-hearted self. I never confess that my healing journey is over, but I understand the level of work I've done is beyond what most people would dare, where most people would dare to go. And I don't say that lightly or with any egotistical attachment, but it is only in one way. It was through the darkness. And this is where my new journey into the light begins. I have gone into the darkness to understand the dark, and I saw things that would send the population crazy in their right mind if they knew the truth of the reason our collective darkness exists, and nothing would excite me more than to sit down with a hot drink and discuss it openly with another person about the existence and understanding of this realm, but I don't know of anyone in their right mind who would follow where I have gone. The darkness is full of all the things we attach to, everything related to fear, everything related to ignorance, and toxic shame avoidance. And my journey, my unknown journey now, is to choose for life, to choose for light, the joy, the fun, the humour, the self-belief, and the magnificence of who I am. Why did I go so deep? Why did I go there, may you ask? I went there to understand myself, to know why darkness exists and what it is in its purity, because darkness in its purity isn't bad, it's deep. But the main reason I went there was so I could heal it in myself and help others to understand it in themselves, allowing them to heal it. I understood and discovered what the ego truly is. I felt and understood the misconception of psychotherapy, stolen from shamanism in its purity. Because psych means to reveal the soul, and the soul is love. It's not about the mind. Psychology is not the study of the mind, it's the study of the soul. You see, shamanism in its highest purity is the absolute knowing of the soul, and the soul speaks through feeling, the feeling of the body. It communicates its disease through pain in the body and through pleasure and joy. It's so much more complex than I can put words to, for it is beyond words to describe. For love is undefinable through logic in its infinite creation, and the soul is love. But what I found on my journey is that when you understand what the soul is trying to tell you, you can heal it, which means you can heal any form of disease. Any form of disease can be cured just by understanding and acknowledging the emotional message of the soul, because acknowledgement is a form of love. How amazing is that? Well, it's not easy. And when I go down this path, or when I've gone down this path in the past, I have worked with animal spirits. This is why I understand and know the power of spirit animals, because I know that you can understand the soul through the wisdom of animals. It is unbelievably profound. Today I got really excited because today I channeled an animal I've been wanting to work with again for some time now. I have a lot of respect for this animal because it was the first animal which healed me when I began my medicine journey, the wasp. So today I dedicate this episode 13, to the tremendous sting and beauty of the wasp. 13 is the sacred number of death, of the deep feminine, and no animal represents this more beautifully than the wasp. Black and gold for the deep golden healer of love, hidden deep within the earth on which we stand upon. I share this episode in deep reverence for my love of the deep goddess of the wasp. The wasp is the femme fatale, and her sting of jealousy is intense and powerful. But her influence is even greater, and many fear her. In the James Bond movie Casino Royale, the femme fatale is called Vesper, and Vesper is the genus name of the wasp and hornet family. The hornet is also a formidable foe, and its energy is similar to wasp in its shadow because it's about vengeance. But how does a woman take vengeance against someone when they take vengeance? This is where the wasp comes in. My journey with the wasp first began when I once healed an injured shoulder on my left side, my feminine side. I was unable to raise my arm above my shoulder for about 2 years after a really severe snowboarding accident. I had seen loads of specialists and they all told me the same thing, that I'd torn my labrum, which meant surgery, but I refused. I tried physiotherapy and I managed to get some of the inflammation down, but it just kept getting worse. Several months later, it was inflamed and I could hardly lift it, so I journeyed with plant medicine in my bedroom to heal it. And about 45 minutes in, I was shown an animal messenger, the wasp. I didn't know what to expect. And then all of a sudden I see this giant wasp spirit land on my chest, and I was just completely amazed by it. Had I been afraid of wasps, it probably would have terrified me. And it said to me with this buzzy resonance, it said, "Ring-a-ding-ding, let the sting in." So I relaxed and I let it in. And it showed me, surprisingly, a memory of my cousin when I was 5 years old, taking me to an outdoor swimming pool down the beach where I grew up. My cousin was in her 30s at the time, a lot older than me, and the wasp showed me how jealous she was of my mother because, she was jealous of me because I was the son that she never had. She had a daughter, and I was extremely adorable. And that energetic jealousy was passed into my body, and I was holding that in my left shoulder. The wasp then told me to put a rose quartz stone on my chest over my heart. And if you don't know, rose quartz is actually a nursing stone. It nurses back and protects your innocence. And when I put the stone there, I felt a tremendous energy. And I felt the inflammation and dark energy flow from my injured shoulder through my chest and into the stone. It was remarkable. And the sting of the jealousy was taken from my shoulder, and instantly I was able to lift my arm above my shoulder. I was completely astonished. The remaining inflammation left over the following weeks, following fortnight, and quite frankly I thought it was miraculous, and that's when my journey of healing with animal spirits began. So I owe a lot to the wasp, and the wasp has shown me its gifts of healing jealousy, and that the sting was the poison from my cousin towards my mother. So I was then told to put the stone in water and not touch it for at least 24 hours. I was actually living with my mother at the time because I'd decided to heal the mother wound. So I left London and I moved back in with my mother at about 39 years old. And when I got up, I went into the kitchen to fill up the bowl with water. And my mother was in the kitchen. I told her about what just happened, bearing in mind it was winter time. And I told her what. And as I told her, a wasp flew into the kitchen. And then it flew. It was so wild. Like me and my mum just like wide-eyed saw this wasp, and it just flew into the filament lamp in the ceiling and killed itself. It just went psh. It was crazy. It was absolutely wild. And then after that happened, my mum went on to tell me the story about how my cousin had treated her and how it came back to bite her, because now she's Unfortunately, she's a bitter old woman now, and she lives in a wheelchair, which is really sad. But that's what happens when you don't take responsibility for your own gifts and your own power, and instead point the finger of hatred at others. Anyway, the power of the wasp is in its shadow and in its light. There are many gifts of the wasp, but I will concentrate on influence and the shadow of jealousy, bringing in other elements such as the smearing, defamation as I go along. I always channel right the channelings I receive from spirit animals because I'm not quite accurate enough to do speaking, channeling and recording at the same time. My accuracy is a lot higher when I write until I learn to free up my voice better. So now I will share the channeled message from the wasp, and then I will discuss further. I am the keeper of keys. I am the stinging medicine of love. I hover and fly in the name of love, and when I land on you, you will feel my mighty prowess. I am the death stinger of light and dark, and I bring many messages to help you reclaim your power, lost and stolen. My power comes from the deep. My sting is powerful, and if you have been stung, you must allow the medicine in. So ring-a-ding-ding, let the sting in. My medicine is extremely powerful because many do not know of the power that is needed to overcome jealousy. I hold the power of influence. My body is glaringly visible. I am bright and dark. I am a warning to those who wish me harm, and I will destroy you should you wish to hurt me. I am the one who shows up at your door demanding your presence, demanding your apology. I am the creature who despises those who try to take my rightful place. The jealousy of others is laughable because I am untouched by their false stings of jealousy. Jealousy shows me how important I am. It shows me how much love I am. For the jealous sting of others just shows me how much they admire me in their own image. I mirror back to them the higher power of influence I have, the influence of love. They cannot bear to feel that energy in their own hearts because they have not yet found the path of responsibility to take their love to the next level. And so they try to steal from me. I am deep and divine, and I care not for those who wish to defame me and smear my name. But it is not me they smear, it is love. The smear campaign against love, against the feminine, has been going on for eons. Screaming like infants, doing their best to take power away from something infinite and multidimensional. It's rather comical. I cannot hide my laughter when people gaze at me and they either run and scream or try to swat me. I'm not here to sting you with jealousy. I'm here to say, look at me. Look at how vibrant and bold I am. Ha! Is that not you in the face of fear? If you try to swat me, are you not only trying to swat away your own magnificence? Now sit back and let me tell you a story about the love of the deep, deep feminine. There once was a man who stood on the corner of a street. It was in Western Italy. He stood against the white backdrop of the wall, wearing brown trousers, a white shirt, red braces, and a flat-capped hat. He stood there waiting each day to catch a glimpse of the woman he adored. She strolled past every day with such a dominating force of love that it intoxicated him with a deep forbidden love and lust for her. Each day he would gaze at her, and each day she would strut past him, a goddess of divine pleasure and deep loving embrace. He felt he could not touch her. He was not strong enough. So he watched and watched until an idea came to him. How can I have her? He asked. I must have her. His desire for her became shrouded in hatred and jealousy. He had become smitten not with her gaze or her love, but with her power. All she had to do was walk, and everyone would gaze upon her with a sense of intensity that made their minds buzz with madness and their hearts sting with desire. For she was the true deep power of the feminine. What could he do, he thought. I will come to her and I will demand she be mine, he said to himself. But how will I pluck up the courage to speak these words to her? I will stand in her way, then she cannot ignore me. The following day he could hear her giant stride, the sound of her shoes tapping the cobbled stones, and the intoxicating scent of love that wisped and buzzed around her. She was a floating goddess with a powerful, striking resemblance to death, and her eyes pierced into the soul of any who dared gaze into her eyes. His heart began to tremble and thump. I must have her, he thought. Then, as she approached the corner where he mostly stood, he jumped out in front of her to scare her. But instead of being frightened, she stood tall, with her hands on her hips, resting back into herself, and said to him, "What do you want? You obviously want something. You've been staring at me for weeks. Go on, spit it out. What do you want?" "I want you, and if I cannot have you, you will be sorry," he said. She scoffs, "Ha! You will make me sorry. You do not know who you contend with, my fellow. I am not your enemy until you make me one, so it is your choice to do so. But know this, if you decide to hurt me, I will sting you as you have never been stung before." She turns her gaze away from him and storms past him, leaving him enraged and shocked. The man, enraged, shouts at her, "I will make you pay!" And then he storms off into town with his rage and anger in tow. He goes about the town spreading idle gossip about her, telling everyone all that she is a spy, a whore and a thief, smearing her name in the gutter across the towns and cities. It was those judgments he made against her because he could not have her, control her, or own her. He had demonized her because he wanted her power all for himself, and if he could not have her, then nobody would, he thought. When word of the idle gossip had reached her, it was too late for her to react. Her name had been smeared across the town and brought down to the gutter. When she walked about town each day, people would stare at her no longer in awe, but in hatred and disgust instead. Her enemy had struck, so she put on her venomous face and headed straight for the man who had cursed her so diligently. "You want me? Well, here I am. If you think you can handle my power, take it. This is what you wanted, was it not?" she said. The man, looking shocked and aghast, spoke too soon when he replied, "You are not mine to take. I care not for your body. I just want your power. You have the world in your palm, and your influence is immediate. I want that power." "You cannot have it," she said, "and I will show you why. You have made me your enemy. Prepare to feel the sting of my wrath." And she stormed off with vengeance in mind. Her ability to strike fear into his heart was impressive, and he stood cowardly at the shame in his heart. He began to fret, and in time he began to plot further against her, but it was of no use, for he did not know who she truly was, or more importantly, what she was. She was an artist unlikened to no other. Her art oozed influence, wealth, success, and extraordinary power, and she used that power to gain insight into the power of true love, something she put above all else. Her art visibly made people stand in shock, with their eyes caught in a gaze of deep passion and surrender. Her promise to the man on the corner was simple and to the point. He would feel her sting. So she stormed into her beautiful country house mansion, and closed all the shutters and doors and entered into her studio. She stood tall with a strong, passionate gaze and placed her garments gently on the floor. Standing nude, she focused intently what wished to be shown on the canvas. Feeling it deeply in her body and heart, she slowly picked up a paintbrush and dipped it with bright colour and began to paint. Her essence oozed her deep sensuality and passion into the canvas as she painted in a deeply passionate trance. Hours and hours passed until she fell into her bed. When she awoke, she gazed at what she had created and laughed most loudly to the heavens. She had created her most magnificent piece of art to date, a masterpiece. The next day, she displayed it in the front window of her prestigious gallery in the centre of the city, where people would come in hordes to gaze at what she would create next. And that day, they were struck with wonder. Where had their hatred and pointing fingers of disgust gone now? She saw through it all with her stinging gaze. The man who cursed her now started hearing his name being spoken of, as people whispered to each other in the streets, while keeping a side gaze upon him. He thought, it must be her, she must have done this. He rushed down to the gallery to see it with his own eyes. When he arrived, gasping and panting for breath, she was leaning against the entrance door of her gallery with folded arms and a big smirk across her face as she waited for him to notice. He took one look at her and then snapped his gaze into the gallery window. His jaw dropped, with eyes wide open. He dropped to his knees in the street in front of everyone and began to weep. As the crowd watched, they began to laugh. What had she created, you may ask? Something you cannot have. Wow, I have never done that before. I have never channeled a story from a spirit animal before, and I was laughing with joy when the ending arrived when I wrote this. Even I did not see that coming. I will explain what it means, but first I will continue with the remaining information that I channeled from the Wasp. Some of this may not make sense to a logical mind, but the key is to let the body be open and receive the coding. Love is a unique system of entrances, and most of those entrances, the ones that require advanced magic and change, require keys. I have those keys, but in order for you to receive the keys, you must follow and allow the sting. Let the sting in. The sting is my medicine, the medicine of truth. What does it mean to be jealous? Let me tell you. Jealousy is the admiration of power and influence over others. It is a distortion of love which wishes to steal power and take what is not rightfully theirs. It originates from a fear of not being able to withstand the pressures and powers of a hive that looks down on those who reject their inner power. It is a sad state of affairs which only allows pain and destruction. However, jealousy is also a key that holds enormous power, because like any distortion of love, it can be healed, and when you learn and lean into the antidote, you will find the gift of love hidden within. Jealousy can show you how powerful you are, how influential you are, and how big you are. The Wasp is a secret keykeeper, designed to be a neutral in the state of affairs that govern the games of love. We hold the keys of the ups and downs, the dark and light. We live in the shadows of light and the light of shadow. We are the mirrors of the deep and the light, for we are in perfect balance. Our minds are one as we vibrate together. Love is not a neutral balance in many ways, but in tune with nature, love is all there is, and we are designed to keep the balance. Some deter one way or another, while others specialize in gifts of the unknown, but we specialize in the keys of love. Remember who you are, and you are gifted with the knowledge of who you are, what you are, and the gifts you have forgotten. Jealousy springs forth to slow you down, to hold you back or sabotage your journey. But when you shine your light, the sting of darkness, the sting of light will always be there to guide you. If we tune into the legacy of jealousy and influence, we see that it is a system of fighting for positions of power without earning the right. The right for power does not come from might, from stealing, from self-righteousness, entitlement or grandiosity. It comes from how deeply you serve the light of love. Love is a prudent word in many cases to guide those who are lost on the journey, but for some the word of love is a poisonous stinging that pains them. The only reason people are pained by love is because they have rejected their own influence and their own soulful presence in love. Humanity is fighting back, the war is almost over, and humanity is climbing itself back from the false reality of destruction, back into the arms of love. But some have held their light brighter than others, and some have made greater choices in service to love rather than fear, and this has angered those who have fallen for the lies of fear, power and destruction. Jealousy pains me because it is a false message of who I am, and it stems from those who do not wish to take any responsibility for their own journey of evolution. Jealousy makes me look like the enemy, when in fact I am the one who wishes everyone deep compassion and love. It stings to feel the jealous attack of others because it is hateful. They hate themselves for not taking the chance, the choices, and the path to make their own dreams a reality. It is a difficult path, and those who hold influence only do so because they have earned the right, through the overwhelming heart of their tenacity, to overcome all the odds to succeed. Jealousy tries to take your autonomy by making you feel like a bad person. It makes you question your integrity, because jealousy projects the lie that you have done wrong, just by being honest with your stinging truth. This projected lie is intended to defame you and take away your influence and your deep power. When love has influence, there are those who fear you, and so they try to smear your reputation like they would smear the blood of a wasp on their shoe. They try to dethrone you so they can take the power for themselves, because they do not respect true power, the power of love, because they do not respect themselves. Master the gift of jealousy, and you will forever be immortal in the eyes of fear. There is nothing to be said or taken from you when you have the power of influence. Influence is the deep sexual life force energy of being deeply divine. When you hold yourself in such divinity, people will clearly see the colours that you wear, and they will take notice, just as people notice when a wasp flies near, because a wasp flies into the face of fear. There are not many who would allow a wasp to land on them and not stand in fear, but those who do hold the power of influence. When this energy of fear is superimposed over the animate connection with wasp and human behavior, we can clearly see that people become afraid of those who hold influence, and so they try to swat them like they would a wasp out of fear, because the wasp delivers the poison, and the poison is the medicine of truth. Okay, that was the end of the channeling, and now I'm going to go deep into discussion around all of that and the smear campaign against love. Just like the story told by the wasp, where the man smears the reputation and the image of the woman's love, when a swarm of wasps attack a beehive, they're doing so to mirror back to us through animism the message of destroying the energy of love. Because bees, like the birds and the bees, they actually represent romance and tenderness. And if we see something like that as a message, because animals imitate the collective energy that we put out. So when we attack each other, animals mirror this behavior back to us. This has happened loads of times to me, many times. A wasp would fly into my room, or my partners, and then days later, or even on that same day, I would receive a scathing psychic attack from someone or a nasty text message. Another instance, I looked on YouTube one day and saw some hornets attacking a beehive. Later that week, my partner and I received psychic energetic attacks against us because of the love we hold for each other. Another couple that betrayed us were jealous of our love, and they tried to defame us and smear our name behind our back. You know, it's very Wasp, and it's such a beautiful connection to be able to receive that animate consciousness, to know that when a wasp, you know, I take it seriously when a wasp flies into my room and go, oh no. But it can also be positive because it can be about influence. Jealousy is very toxic. It tries to make you look like a narcissistic person, but the opposite is true. It's those who become jealous that project their narcissistic energy towards you. So I'm sure you can imagine how that must feel for celebrities when they set the bar so high, you know, when people have that influence. The smear campaign I speak of in this podcast is a collective smear campaign against the feminine. So what does that mean? I'm going to go deeper into that, and remember, we are working with the feminine energy of the wasp, the femme fatale. I'm going to use a strange example here. John Bon Jovi's famous song, "You Give Love a Bad Name." I was dancing to this end of last year, and this song hit me right in the heart. It taught me a lot about the power of the pure masculine, actually. It's about the smear campaign against love, about those who speak love and stand for love but are punished and blamed for the evil deeds they themselves have created. You often see this in children when a child hits his siblings when his parents aren't looking, and the other child retaliates, getting him in trouble when the parents turn around, giving him a bad name and reputation because he reacted angrily, but he was provoked, and the anger actually came from the other child who now looks innocent. Or you see it in a man who stands up for women's rights and is labelled a white knight for trying to manipulate women by being a protector against men, but neither is true. A man protects the feminine because that is his natural role, and this is what I talk about a lot. He doesn't protect her against men. That's not our role. Man protects the feminine from himself. Let that sink in, because any attack against the feminine always comes through the closest vessel of love. Shot through the heart and you're to blame. You give love a bad name. These lyrics first start with the jealous accuser, and then they are returned by the pure influence of love. Repeated, shot through the heart and you're to blame. You give love a bad name. So first it comes from the person who is jealous, and then it's returned by the influencer. I've spoken about this in my book. I'm writing a book about integration, and being shot is actually the divine masculine equivalent of witch burning. Here's a few examples. John Lennon, shot. Bob Marley, shot. Martin Luther King, shot. John F. Kennedy, shot. Abraham Lincoln, shot. Gandhi, shot. These men were shot because they had the influence of love at their side, and they had influence because at some point or another they spoke the truth of love, which shattered people's illusions. Powerful medicine against a deep state of control and slavery, so they stamped out their light. I've done a video actually on YouTube about free speech and what it actually means, because people really don't have a good handle on the idea of what free speech actually means. Speaking narcissistic words is not free speech. Speaking love is free speech, and that's why it's so difficult to speak love because of censorship. I'm actually doing a series on YouTube about this. But what I'm going to say next is really deeply channeled, so bear that in mind, right? This is deep purity from the divine. The divine masculine has a pure role in protecting the feminine. The bullet represents being hunted, but in its highest form, it is man pulling the trigger on a gun, which is reaching out to steal the power of death with his finger, just like in that painting of Michelangelo touching God with his finger. Just like the man does to the wasp, he is trying to steal, in the story, he is trying to steal the deep power of the feminine. And in doing so, he is framing and defaming the feminine by using her power to kill. He is pointing towards death and destruction of his fellow man, of himself. This is the trigger of creation. Do you create love or destroy love? Do you create life or death? You see, this is the dark war. A man pulls a trigger using the stolen, distorted power of death, which is a feminine power, a feminine gift, to kill her protector, the divine masculine. Think about that for a moment. When a man chooses to shoot another man, he has been triggered. The gun, the trigger, triggered by a man who protects the feminine energy. Instead, he should be pointing his finger at himself, shooting himself in the heart, because he gave love a bad name, not the man being shot. Shooting yourself in the heart is a metaphor. I don't desire for a man to kill himself. It is a metaphor for letting the sting of love in to kill the ego and open the heart. It's also a message about the silver bullet, the silver bullet that kills the werewolf, that kills the unconsciousness, that tries to defame and feed from the blood of the feminine. So it's a cure for that. But it's being projected outwards. An example of this happening in real life recently was in last year in 2024, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And no, I'm not saying Donald Trump's a divine masculine. People thought the assassin missed his target, but he didn't. So I'm remembering here firefighter Corey, I hope I've said this right, Corey Comperator, a divine masculine, a man who was killed as he shielded his family, his daughter and his wife. Rest in peace, my fellow brother. You did your job well. You protected the feminine. So thank you. This is why pure men, powerful men, hide. Because they don't dare come out for fear of being hunted by those who wish to stamp out their light. So all these women are looking for good men, but they can't. They're hiding. And so they get all the narcissistic, toxic men who are just using them. It's the silencing of the pure voice of the divine masculine in a toxic patriarchy. It is brothers against brothers. And when people wake up and see the pure masculine is hunted because he does not play the game of toxic degradation and abuse of the feminine, the quicker we can heal our planet and our inhumane society. Because, as the late David Bowie once sang, I can remember standing by the wall and the guns shot above our heads, and we kissed as though nothing could fall, and the shame was on the other side. Oh, we can beat them forever and ever. Then we could be heroes, just for one day. So what is the antidote to jealousy and the smear campaign against the feminine? It's quite simple. You become so big and shine so bright that you don't feel the sting any longer, because your influence is so pure, so great that none would dare say a bad word against you. Because even though they may be afraid of your power, they know who you are, because you are art, and you cannot be bought. Wow, that was really, really emotional for me, and I really hope you learned a lot from this wisdom today, and thank you for listening. I will be doing another episode next week. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.